last few weeks I've listened to Midsummer's Dream twice. First I did As You Like It, Midsummer's Dream, and then The Tempest. And in every play, Shakespeare presents a different world. The world of the first one, As You Like It, is a very pastoral world, an idyllic pastoral world where people can, they're living in nature, where nature supplies all, and people, the theme is natural relationships between people without artifice, enjoying the beauties of nature. It's a type of, very congenial relationship with the earth, with the seasons, and with each other. The people that are in the Arcadia, right? It is the place. Arcadia have escaped a cruel treatment from hostile. They've been betrayed by their family. It's politics, so they've been cast out into the woods. And in the woods, living as outlaws, they've actually found this content. And there are many famous quotes from there. The one about the brooks and the stones having words. Perhaps more will come to mind. But it's basically, living in nature as a more authentic and satisfying existence than in the the competitive and atmosphere at court.
25 too.
And so it's a kind of it's kind of a fairy tale world. It was very popular back then to conceive of this idyllic existence in the fields and the pastures and the woods, sort of set apart from the hubbub and the stresses of living in the cities, and how the kind of person. So it was, one of the thought was that if people could live in harmony with nature, that it would bring out the best in them as well. So that was one world. The second world in Midsummer's Night Dream is presided over, there's hierarchies, right? And you're presided over by Theseus, who's a legendary hero. He's marrying Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazon. So very fascinating, very strong, dominant personalities, designed, suited to ruling their domains and their kingdoms, and presented in a favorable light as being fair. And Theseus particularly is very cognizant and respectful of the common person. He appreciates that their activities, their contributions. There's very much in that play about relationships between the different levels in society. But presiding over Theseus and Hippolyta are Oberon and Titania, the fairy king and queen, and they're seen as they're given a status almost of deities, being the original humans. They're called they're our originals is how they refer to themselves. And so they are very benign, they're very benevolent, they sort of order and they blessing the marriage. And so you have fairies, you have Puck, who's causing all kinds of confusion among the lovers with the sleeping potions, and so you have that element of kind of discord that actually causes a lot of humor, but everything's set right. Oberon sets everything right. So there's a very nice sense of harmony that's presented in that play of that world, kind of the natural order of things, right? Presided over by these by the fairy king and queen, who are very much in the world and very involved and active in it. And then in the third play, Tempest, you have a magical world. You have the magician Prospero, who has summoned spirits by his magic arts. and he's using his magic to set right. There's been wrongs committed. He was exiled by his devious brother, perfidious brother Antonio, exiled from his kingdom with a small daughter. And so he's in this world where he's brought his magic books. He's studied magic. He's become a very powerful magician, and he has spirits at his command to do his bidding. And he accomplishes the righting of wrongs. It's a really, very interesting story. His daughter marries the Duke of Milan. There's a beautiful. There's music throughout. There's fair. There's not really. It's not the fairy world. These are all different spirits. Ariel is the spirit who has a relationship with Prospero. And at that time in England, Elizabethan England, there are very many, not just in England, but in the continent, there are very many famous magicians. Magic was studied and taken quite seriously, beginning from the Italian Renaissance, where it was a sort of a natural kind of magic, understanding the stars, the influences of plants and herbs and fragrances and colors. So it was a sort of a natural magic that also went into more, what's the word? Or maybe it'll come to me. But that's sort of the theme in that. So you have this other world that Prospero is master of, but he gives up that world. He disowns it once everything is set right, and his daughter is going to marry the King of Naples' son. He says, this rough magic I now abjure, and he breaks the staff, and he returns back to Milan. But there's not the sense that he's actually happy about it, and he's not. He says, my every third thought will be of the grave, and so you wonder what his life is going to be back in Milan, where he lived this magical isle that was full of songs and visions, and where he made this beautiful life for himself and his daughter. And my concluding thought from that was that whereas in Midsummer's Dream the two worlds were integrated, the fairy world and the human world were integrated, it was expected that Oberon and Titania, they knew they would set things right and they would maintain order. Things could go awry for various reasons, but their constant work was to keep harmony between heaven and earth, between man and woman, between low and high, that was their work in Midsummer's Night Dream. Whereas in the Tempest, Prospero only saw his work, his magic art, as pertaining to this isle. He couldn't see that it connected to life in Milan, in the city. He made a separation between his work on this island and the work on land. And I think that's, often these characters have sort of a tragic flaw, and I would call that Prospero's tragic flaw. This is my own personal view, that he felt like he had to give up his magic arts in order to integrate back into life in Italy and take up the political mantle. And I think that the ability to create visions and music and have those things at your command isn't a rough magic. I wouldn't call that a rough magic. I would say it's something that people were all capable of. And that if we have that gift, that we want to carry that gift out into the world, into our general daily lives as well.